We've got something very cool today to celebrate The Last Guardian. My pal Ben Silverman is with me. He's not actually with me. He's on a big screen TV right beside me, but it's like he's right here with me, and he's right here with you. Ben, how you doing, buddy?
I am good. It is a pleasure. This is two basements in not a very long period of time. I've been in your basement now, I think, in like 5 days, twice.
I know, it's pretty good, right?
Killing your dudes in your basement.
And more is coming. But this is a big game, and I thought that we should get together and talk about it because as one of the things that we were talking about with The Last Guardian over the weekend, because you've been kind of my help desk, and it's like we've got a support group between the two of us with this game because it's an emotional game. But one of the things that I definitely picked up on is that it's hard to write about this game. It's a game that needs to be discussed and talked about, and that's what we're going to do today is kind of just get into it and talk about the way that this game plays and the frustrations that come from that because it's not a perfect game, but also the way this game makes us feel. What do you think about The Last Guardian?
Just gotta take an exhale. I mean, it's been 8 years, right? I think, or something, since we heard of it, or since they started developing it. At that first E3, I remember when they showed it off. I was sitting next to Scott Jones, and both of us were freaking out, and everyone was freaking out. So it's hard to sort of separate the emotional journey that we've all been on with this game, wanting it to come out, being sad when we thought it was canceled, being excited again when it came back, having no idea what we were going to get. I mean, unlike, I think, Duke Nukem Forever, which was another one of these kind of vaporware games, which we all knew was probably going to be pretty janky.
I can't believe you worked Duke Nukem Forever into the Last Guardian review. That's some fine work there, my friend.
I did some pretty good straddling, but but really, right? Like that was the last one that was like it's never coming out, and then it came out like holy shit.
Yeah.
But that game was a disaster, and we kind of knew it was going to be rough.
Sure.
The Last Guardian, I think no one knew what the hell we were going to get because we know the stature of Ueda-san. We know what he's done and how amazing those two games are before this. So I went into it, kind of already emotionally charged, like I didn't go into it just kind of clear-headed, like, oh, here we go, can't wait, let's see what it's like. I was like, I want this to be XYZ. And I guess the best way I could explain how I feel about this game, I just wrote my review today, or published my review today. I called it the most polarizing game I've ever played. And by that, I mean, it's the most polarizing game I have experienced while playing it. I would go from the polar opposites of this is a fucking masterpiece.
Yeah.
This is an artistic triumph. This is a singular vision. This is everything I want out of a video game. And then like 5 minutes later would be like, I'm going to throw my controller out of the fucking window.
Yeah.
I'm never playing this game again. It's a control disaster. It's a mechanical nightmare. And like my entire experience with the game was that. It was flying back and forth between two very intense extreme feelings of joy.
It's really hard not to get, pissed off about these janky controls and the camera which conspire against your enjoyment. Because it's taken so long to develop. It's very hard to not sort of say, what the hell were they doing for so long? They should have started with the controls. They should have, made all of this stuff as fluid as possible. And my biggest complaint, I didn't really want to turn this into just dumping all over this game right at the beginning because I think there's more to pull from this thing in totality. But my biggest complaint with it is that the controls remain frustrating all the way through. You go on a journey, you go on a bonding character arc with the two characters that you are mostly enjoying the entire way through, but the little boy that you play, the kid, doesn't become more fluid. He doesn't become more graceful. And your thumb movements and the way that you control that character after all of the leaping and flying and saving himself at the last second, all of that, which would imbue any reasonable character in any other medium with a tremendous amount of skill and the ability. We don't really have that. He's kind of fumbling and stumbling all the way along to the very end, and it's frustrating. But the other side of the coin that I have with these controls is that we played this game to review it. And this game is worthy of of really spending a lot of time with it. It felt really in poor taste to race through this game. I felt guilty that I was just eating it like I'm at the at buffet table, just getting all of this beautiful art into me as quickly as possible. When it's meant to be savored, it's meant to be just completely. You're meant to just be lost in this world because the artist that crafted this for us did an incredible job.
Well, I mean, I think 2 points to that. One, I had about a week with it and spent
Yeah.
a full week really playing it. I didn't, burn through it in 2 days. I played
Okay.
this game over about 5 or 6 days and would play for 2-hour sessions or so, and then would go do other things. So I did try to play it like that. And I think the problems with the controls, not just sort of moving the boy around, the thing that has been frustrating and I think also pleasing a lot of people, and it's the big point of contention, is the control or lack of control or vague control over Trico, the dragon ferret that you have.
Yeah.
You're able to sort of ask him to do things. You say, we need you to jump now, or I need you to come over here, or I need you to move to the left or the right. And 50% of the time he would kind of pay attention. 50% of the time he would like literally just fucking walk the other way. Like you're like, I need you to stand here because I got to climb up to this ledge. And he's like, no, I'm going to go over here. And you're like, okay, no, maybe this is a video game. Maybe you should, he doesn't need to like be on a leash, but it was hard to tell for me how much of that kind of savoring what you're talking about, not rushing through it, and the frustration that we were finding. And just as a quick aside, when we get games early, it's a great thing, but it's also an infuriating thing when you get stuck because you don't have walkthroughs and let's plays all over the internet. So you can call the publisher, the developer, but we never want to do that because you sort of want to black out with them after you get the game. You don't want to be in touch with them.
Yeah.
So the only recourse is to talk to other journalists. And I did that. Vic, I was texting with you, but I had 4 Facebook messages with 4 other journalists. I had 3 Twitter DMs with everyone, Jeff Kanata, this person from Wired, like everybody. And it wasn't about opinion. It was all, I'm stuck where the box is. I've been here for 45 minutes. What do I do?
And there are very few games that I think journalists would care about that much that they would reach out like that. And I think that's another sort of plus in this game's direction, And I got to tell you, too, when we met last week, I was playing Final Fantasy 15. I hadn't even picked up Last Guardian yet. And when you told me about, and you did an amazing impression of the boy talking to Trico, but when you told me about the frustrations with Trico, I thought it was hilarious. But it was tempered. And I think that we're probably going to do that a little bit here with people that are going to, I hope, rush out and get this game because, spoiler alert, it's worth playing. But I wasn't that frustrated with Trico. I kind of understood that Trico was, an AI kind of sentient little creature that was going to sort of respond to, the interactions and his desires on his own, and you couldn't really control him. But what frustrated me so much is that the gracefulness of the kid just wasn't there. And I don't remember having that same level of frustration with either Eco or Shadow of the Colossus. So it felt like the developers took a little bit of a step back with the main controls of your main character.
Well, Shadow had some problems. I remember in that game. And the same thing with The Last Guardian. You do a lot of climbing on top of Trico, just as you would in The Last Guardian. Be climbing. It's much different in Shadow. It was all about getting to the top of these things, and in Last Guardian, you're just sort of holding on for moments, right? But there is still that thing where you get turned upside down. You're climbing this way, and you want to go this way, and the camera's over here, and that was a problem in Shadow. But that's a 10-year-old game or something. You would have hoped over the years they would have gone, okay, how do we make a camera work in an interior setting with a giant beast and a boy? Yeah. And they just never solved those things, and they just kind of said fuck it and threw it in and said the people will figure it out. I think the thing about not controlling him that frustrates me is not the part where I want him to obey. It's that the gaming goal of the game is to reach the ledge, open the lever, jump the gap, proceed through this fortress,
You have
survive.
to have a lot of patience. Absolutely.
And so when you know the answer, when you figured out, when you've searched your environment and you say, I have to go there, and you go, all right, I think the way to get there is by this dude coming over and I climb up on his head and I jump to it. And 10 minutes later, he won't go there or he won't get up on his legs. What ends up happening, Vic, is you don't just go, this is irritating because he won't do what I want. It's that you go, maybe I'm doing the wrong thing.
Right.
So you then go the other fucking way and you go out some other exit and you start trying to pull him over to the wrong area.
Sure.
And that's a dead end. So you end up burning, when we talk about how long the game takes, you end up burning a lot of time.
I would say
unnecessary busy work where you've already solved it, you just can't do it.
I think it's probably another 50% of game time is that exactly what you've expressed, and I think that's incredibly frustrating, you know, and it's kind of inexcusable. And I think that the only way it is excusable with The Last Guardian is because there's been such an unbelievable level of craft in the way that the world is built for you, and when you think of the enormity of the architectural design that's sort of evident in this game, it's mind-boggling. I mean, they craft basically this, you know, I mean, they hinted at these massive cities and structures and things in both Eco and Shadow, and they were pretty large worlds, but this thing just seems to go on for literal, you know, city miles, and you're just, you know, jumping from building to building and going through caves and going through meadows and going underwater, and I mean, it is absolutely stunning how big the world, and it's all there for you. I mean, you eventually get to all of it, which is incredible.
And the way that you navigate through it is not a linear line. Like you don't say, okay, I go through this gate and I go to this next thing. There are moments where you think you're supposed to go this way, but then you kind of jump off with Trico to some little outcropping thing, and then you go here, and the way that you proceed through the world is always surprising.
Yeah.
And
always dangerous as well.
Always dangerous, always surprising. You always feel it's got that Uncharted thing where you're clinging to ledges over bottomless pits. I mean, it does high drama so well. And you just kept reminding me of Shadow, where you'd be on top of that, but you finally made it to the fucking top of that big thing, and you're like about to plunge the thing in, and the music swells, and you grab on, and you do this number. It captures that stuff, but infuses it with the deepest emotional bond I've ever connected with an AI creature before. This is the Turing test almost getting passed. Like I believe that this animal is real. It's not just ones and zeros. Like you just, over the course of this thing, as frustrating as it is, as irritating as it is, you just are like, I marvel every time I see it. Yeah. Look at it walking around. You could just stare at the thing like fucking scratching its ear and then looking at butterflies. You're just like, how did they do this?
Did you spend a lot of time cleaning the wounds off of Trico because he gets
every
stabbed?
Spear,
yeah.
You could actually wipe the blood off?
Yeah, and I did that for the whole game. I just did. Oh. It broke my heart to have all that bloody
patches.
Know you
could wipe the blood.
Yeah,
I just pulled the spear out. But.
You pull the spear out, then you spend some time petting Trico, and the blood goes away, and you see this bond happening, and it's also happening with you. I mean, you care about them and their relationship. I was out for a walk with my family the other night for like a Christmas walk, and I'm looking at all these beautiful lights up on Grouse Mountain here, and I was thinking of Trico. You know, I'm sitting here with my kid and my wife and our friends, and I'm thinking of Trico. How's Trico doing right now? That little guy, that big guy. And then I'd go back and play the game, and I'd be yelling at Trico, like, over there, go there. But then, you know, you fall in love with him. You get angry, you fall in love. The kid kept me perpetually in a state of anger. Like, why are you running so fast? Why did you fall off it? Slow down, you know? Like,
you are a fucking bad parent. I'm sorry, I'm just going to interrupt. You're with your real family, you're thinking about these other ones, and then when you're thinking about these other ones, you're fucking mad at them all the time. You've got to smoke some, didn't you get that stuff up in Vancouver? Could you get what do you call it? Marijuana? Marijuana?
Marijuana, yes. I'm in anger management courses now, thanks to The Last Guardian.
But it is sort of true. Like, I have a 3-year-old son, and he is 3 years old, which means 60% of the time he's an asshole, 40% of the time he's kind of an asshole. And we'll get into a thing where he won't do, I'm like, you gotta brush your teeth, gotta brush your teeth, and he won't, and then he's like naked and running around, and then he's like this, and then 45, and you're just like, you're here the whole time, just like not yelling at him, but you're just here, and you're angry, and he goes to bed, and I shut the door, and I immediately miss him.
Yeah.
I'm like, I miss you. I love you so much. Oh my God. Even though I was just so pissed off at him.
Yeah.
That's totally what happens here.
Yeah.
You're like, you're mad. You're like, fuck this shit. You turn the game off
You
and
have like a
you're like,
family bond with these characters in this
I want to
world.
go see you again. I want to see
Yeah,
you guys.
I know.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I know. And, now I'm loaning the game to Blake, and I'm going to miss that disc even though I have no time to play it again. But I'm like, I'm honestly emotionally threaded and connected to this game and to this experience. And even though it's got, hordes of issues and problems and it's frustrating, and honestly, I was texting you the first time I reached out to you. There's a jump early on in the game that you have to make. And I'm not going to ruin it, but I was like ready to quit. I was like, I can't get past this thing, and I was like an hour in. And it's like, this is ridiculous. I tried it over and over again. I made it once, tried it a bunch of times, made it again, screwed up and didn't do the thing that I was supposed to do. So then I had to try that jump again after I tried a million different things, and I couldn't make that jump. And I tried it like 100 times to make that jump, and I was like, this is so preposterous. The camera's not working. What the hell? I can't make this. I was ready to throw. I was like embarrassed that my kid was watching me be this angry about it, and she actually gave up on me and walked away.
She's used to you being angry, apparently. So it's, you're angry all the time. Right?
Well, especially the last few days playing this game. But I'm glad I persevered because, almost immediately, I think we texted again and you said, how's it going? And I said, this game is the most beautiful thing I've ever played in the way.
It's the funniest text string because it does start off with you going, I can't make this fucking jump. This is driving me crazy. You're ranting. I was at the flea market with my wife, like shopping, and I'm just getting like this string of like expletive, irritated. I can't jump over the thing. You even took a picture of the screen and sent it to me like, his head is here. I gotta jump. And I'm like, I'm reading. I'm like, good luck, man. And then I lost service because we're at this flea market in the middle of nowhere in the Bay Area. And I get back in my car and I check. And the next text message, which is like 45 minutes later, says, "This is a masterpiece." And I'm like, yeah,
and that's the game.
That's the experience.
That is the game. And you know what? Like, we've got our rocket and ray gun conversation that we're going to do next week with the rest of the guys.
Knows?
I can't wait to do that, and we'll talk about this game for sure. But I don't know how, even with its problems, this isn't. I mean, arguably, this is the most important game of the year. Like this year will be remembered because this game finally was released in it. And the emotions that it evokes. Maybe not for everybody. I think a lot of people will probably check out because of the frustrations. They'll test it out and they'll say, "Screw it! I don't have time in my life for something like that."
I think The Last Guardian contains the most important game of the year. I don't know if The Last Guardian itself, as a full experience, is the most important game of the year because of those frustrations.
50% more frustration. Yeah.
You have to dig. You have to put up with so much, and the rewards are immense. I mean, we didn't talk about the cutscenes, which I would get a cutscene would come up and they're really scattershot. You don't know when one's going to happen, and you get this cutscene, maybe a flashback, and
some of the mystery gets filled in. Yeah,
the direction of those cutscenes is stunning. Like I would just watch those movies, and you would watch Trico in like his full form, kind of animated, and watch him flying and watch him doing and watch him being.
And honestly, how many games keep us riveted the entire way through? And even
the whole way.
The whole way through. And the frustrations still keep us riveted. The problems and the foibles of the game still keep us engaged with it. That anger that bubbles up is justifiable. But it's directed at something that's it just seeps passion. You have passion for this whole experience as you're playing it. And a lot of games are good and technically sound, but they don't ever evoke that level of love or hate, and they just never do. They exist and are, very competent and great experiences and worth the money and worth the time, but I don't know if they tap into that passion like this, And you can see it's Ueda-san's, vision and him leading a team and them struggling for many years to figure out how they're going to mechanically make all of this stuff work and be at all feasible. And I think they probably still have some patches and some cleanup to do. I had some frame rate issues, but also some technical visual glitches and things like that, which hopefully will all be smoothed over. And maybe they'll take another pass at tightening up some of the controls and stuff. which is the way that games get made these days. But it's hard not to, you know, in that love there's some hate, you know. But my love for this game supersedes everything else for it.
Well, there aren't a lot of visionaries left.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some, and we used to have more. We had our Will Wrights and our Molyneux, and for reasons here and there, they're not really doing that anymore, right? I mean,
Yeah.
on Spectre, there are these kind of design gods, and even a lot of those folks were more mechanical, right? Like Will Wright was a design god because of sort of how he could mechanically construct things, and same with Warren Spector was sort of the way he would envision a game from start to finish. Ueda feels like really an artist at work, and it just happens that he chose video games.
I mean, honestly, this could be a poem, it could be a ballad, it could be a play.
All of his games.
You know,
I mean, Shadow of the Colossus is the same thing. I mean, it happens to be a video game, but it doesn't need to be. Eco as well. I mean, they don't. This is just how he chooses to express himself, and I think we're really blessed with that. That we don't have a lot of that. There are now, you see that in the indie scene, but those folks are always caged in a little bit by finances and technology and their ability to kind of get those things accomplished. There are few kind of people with the budget or with the backing to be able to say, here's my vision and I want it to happen. Now, he managed to deal with that team and a revolving door of programmers and people leaving and then moving over to this platform from the PS3 to the PS4. It was a nightmare. I mean, imagine what would have happened if this was a 4-year direct line with the correct resources. Maybe those controls would have been fixed. Maybe they would have been able to kind of decide how they wanted Trico's programming to work as far as being an AI beast that would listen or not listen. I have no idea. Just the fact that he was able to deliver what I think is pretty close artistically to what he wanted to deliver is itself a miracle, and it's a rarity in a business where mostly you see sequels and sort of rehash stuff.
And the inspiration that will come from this and the learnings that will come from this will resonate forever in the business. You know, even if he hangs it up after these 3 games. It's hard to think of 2 more important PlayStation 2 games, which then went on to be an incredibly important package for the PlayStation 3. Like, you got to play these games, you know? And one of the other things that I sort of thought about, too, is that Sony, for the most part, kind of buried The Last Guardian at E3 this year. They had it on 2 screens or something. And I think part of it was because the demo took half an hour, right? And they wanted people to really kind of get lost in that communication between the kid and the beast. And Nintendo had nothing but Zelda in their booth. They had nothing but Zelda. And just to think of that disparity and that difference, you know, and Zelda's going to be incredible for sure, but there is this sense of, you know, corporate timing and a little bit more kind of awareness. It's of how to market and tune that and get that out so that it becomes this incredibly important property for Nintendo. This thing felt like a risk all the way, and it feels like a risk when you play it, and it feels like you know, this ephemeral special gift, you know, that maybe shouldn't have been in a lot of ways. Maybe you know, maybe a lot of people got really burnt out along the way. All I can do is just commend the perseverance of the commitment of Sony to, you know, keep this thing financed and keep these people paid to finish this thing off. You know, that couldn't have been easy. And I think this is an important game. You know, I really do.
Well, I think, you know, I think you're right with sort of pointing out that whoever it was at Sony, was Sean Layden or you know, Shu or somebody there, who really said, we're gonna make this thing happen. Like, we're gonna allow this thing to happen. We're gonna keep this thing greenlit despite everything. I mean, apparently there were a lot of problems in that development. It wasn't just it came out and Sony thought it was cool and then they just let go of it. Like, there were problems. It was not working for a lot of reasons. The developers were having a hard time.
Yep.
But when you really think about how, I mean, look, this game was never going to sell 10 million copies. That's not this kind of game. You know, it was never going to be that, even though we were all stoked about it. I mean, I don't know how well Shadow sold. I don't know how well Eco sold, but I don't think of those as blockbusters. I think of those as what we've always held up as games as art, and it's these kind
creative
of
blockbusters.
Games, creative blockbusters, but never big payouts. And so I
So
think Sony
Sony knows
handled
that
it
though.
well.
They
Yeah.
feel the importance of that. You know, they know they need their flowers and their journeys and their colossuses and and now their last guardians. They know they need that. It can't just be you know, shooters and action adventures and Naughty Dog stuff. You know, it can't just be that. They need artistic reach, and
Well, No
thankfully,
Man's Sky. I mean,
yeah,
and I kept thinking of that when I was playing Last Guardian because it does seem like Sony may have an issue with, and I think we have now all learned they do have an issue with hype to a degree, right? Like
yeah,
they get us very excited for stuff, and then either it kind of lets us down or it vanishes for a while. Like I mean, they you know this Final Fantasy remake or whatever that was 2 years ago. I haven't heard a thing about that. Like they kind of like these Shenmue, right? These things come out that we go, oh my god, and then it's
yeah.
just like and then nothing.
Well,
Um,
that's like the textbook. How do you win an E3 press conference? And this was one of those
this was one of them,
8 years ago.
and No Man's Sky won it a couple years for him.
Yeah,
And now, given I think what's happened in No Man's Sky is unfair to Sean Murray and in No Man's Sky. I think we could talk about that game as well. We
yeah,
have talked about that game, but there's a similarity here in sort of Sony sticking with and putting their trust in and perhaps unfairly hyping or not hyping two very curious, interesting pieces of software
yeah,
that don't really belong in, you know, what would be a smart move for a publisher's library. I mean, it's
right.
not Gears 4. I mean, they have those, they're doing those, but these are risky. And I really do agree with you that The Last Guardian, despite itself, is worth a play. I think what bums me out is if it didn't have those control issues, I think if it
It would be probably your favorite game
it
ever.
would be
Yeah,
my game of the year. I mean,
yeah,
it's like a melody. It's like a Paul McCartney melody,
yeah,
like most beautiful Beatles Paul McCartney melody. It's Blackbird. It's Hey Jude with no fucking bass line.
yeah.
Like they forgot to put in the bass line, or like there's no drums, and you're like, what? This isn't the full thing. Like, why did you fuck up the bass line? You have the best melody ever. So I just get frustrated because it's like not. Oh, it's so close.
It is so close.
So close.
It is so close. You know what though? We both beat it. We didn't throw down our controllers in disgust and fury. I still think it's a masterpiece, warts and all. You know, and I don't know if it will be tuned enough that it will please everybody with its controls. I mean, one of the ways that I was able to kind of justify these sort of crazy controls for the kid is that he's a kid, you know, that he isn't Nathan Drake. He isn't a superhero. It feels like it takes place in almost real time in the game world as well. So it's an excuse, but it's a way that I kind of have tempered it as I've played the game because I do love it.
I feel like a lot of people have been making excuses. Like you hear a lot of journalists saying like, well, you know, you're not supposed to lure that beast around. Like that's just the way it is. Get used to it. And I'm like, yeah, but you're the same motherfucker who was like pinging me with 1,000 questions about I can't get past the crate. And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, and now you're suddenly like, no, it's just Trico does what Trico wants, man. It's like fucking like you can't have both. Like you have to. This is what it is. It is
Yeah.
a beautiful piece of art that is mechanically busted. And I think you don't need to justify why you love something.
Yeah.
You can just love something.
I do.
We're inclined to quantify that. Our critical brains do that.
And this is the toughest thing, right? Is assigning a numerical value to this immense work of art. You know,
Yeah.
it took forever to get this to us, and it was worth it. And I loved it, and I want to play it again. I won't for a while, though. I've got to let my emotions calm down for a bit and my anger sort of smooth out. But we have to score this. What are you going to give The Last Guardian?
I feel like this is an almost impossible game to score.
Yeah.
I had to do it for Yahoo. And for Reviews on the Run, or for EP or whatever the hell we call this now, just Vic and Ben, I'm going to go a little bit higher. After I talked to you about it, I feel a little bit better. I feel like I'm going to go a little bit above what I gave for Yahoo. I'm going to go ahead and say it's an 8 out of 10.
An 8. Wow. Okay. I think it's unbelievably important and mostly thrilling. Lots of issues.
It's hard, Vic.
Yeah, I mean, I love it too much to 8.5 from me. But I'm like that close to a 9 too, you know? Like I could easily give this a 9, but
It could get a 9.5, it could get a 6, and both of those are like, I totally get it,
justifiable.
dude.
Yeah.
I totally get it.
Yeah.
Like I started with this conversation saying it's the most polarizing game I ever played.
Well, if there's ever been a video that we have posted that I want comments after you've played this game, it's this one. I want to hear from everybody. Everybody that watches this video, write something about The Last Guardian if you play it. Let us know your thoughts. And we talked about it, we scored it, we didn't spoil it. Now it's all yours. Good luck with it. I hope you enjoy The Last Guardian. I'm not giving you my cell number because I'm not going to give you any hints when you get stuck. Thank you, my friend.
Always a pleasure, Vic.
You rock, buddy. We'll talk to you next week, okay?
Okay, cool.
Okay.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Esports.
Esports. Hey, thanks for checking out that video on our EPN channel. It's just one small part of the things that we make around here. So if you liked it, don't forget to check out some of our other vids and hit that subscribe button.